Okay, this is page 15 or 31. I'll try and finish. Like I said, there's 41 pages, so hopefully I'll finish it. Hopefully, maybe there's a half an hour left or something. January 25, 2024. Charles Hartshorne, 1897 to 2000, age 103. A very short biography. Here is your chance to learn from a distinguished graduate of Harvard University. He was an American philosopher, mostly philosophy of religion and metaphysics. Both his parents lived over 80 years. His father was a reverend. Charles lived through the entire 20th century, including the two world wars, World War One, World War Two, and the Cold War. It is very remarkable that he got his 3 degrees, BA, MA, and PhD in only 4 years instead of 1 degree, uh, let alone at prestigious Harvard University. Usually, a bachelor's degree takes 4 years, a master's 1 to 2 years, and a PhD 3 to 4 years. So altogether, it should take at minimum 4, 5, 8. It should take 8 years minimum. He later studied first under famous philosopher Husserl and then under famous philosopher Heidegger, and later worked with Weiss, Weiss, followed by a semester assisting the famous philosopher Whitehead. He developed the neoclassical idea of God. He created a model proof of the existence of God that developed Anselm's ontological argument. He also developed Whitehead's process philosophy into process theology. Kant rejected all proofs of the existence of God, partly by claiming that they all reduce to the ontological argument. So Hartshorne may be a major challenger to Kant. Kant rejected all the proofs of the existence of God. He wrote many articles and many books. Weiss and Hartshorne edited the 6-volume collection of Peirce's system. It is surprising that the Library of Living Philosophers only added Hartshorne to their collection when he was 94 years old, as I said before. He was a critic in a record 8 of their earlier volumes. He is internationally known for his contributions to philosophy of creativity and his distinctive brand of process philosophy and theology, presenting and defending his views for over 60 years. In his psychicalistic process philosophy, he distinguishes simply between a priori metaphysics and empirical cosmology. The former seeks necessary, positive, general truths about existence. The latter helps develop a worldview which combines the abstract and the concrete, the logic and the actual. The philosophy books written by Hartshorne are The Philosophy and Psychology of Sensation, 1934, Beyond Humanism, Essays in the New Philosophy of Nature, 1937, Man's Vision of God and the Logic of Theism, 1941, The Divine Relativity, A Social Conception of God, 1948, Philosophers Speak of God with Reese, 1953, The Logic of Perfection and Other Essays in Neoclassical Metaphysics, 1962, Anselm's Discovery, 1965, A Natural Theology for Our Time, 1967, Creative Synthesis and Philosophical Method, 1970, Reality as Social Process, 1971, Whitehead's Philosophy Selected Essays, 1935-1970, in 1972, Aquinas to Whitehead, 7 Centuries of Metaphysics of Religion, 1976, Whitehead's View of Reality with Peden, 1981. Insights and Oversights of Great Thinkers, an Evaluation of Western Philosophy, 1983. Creativity in American Philosophy, 1984. Omnipotence, that is being all-powerful, and Other Theological Mistakes, 1984. Wisdom as Moderation, 1987. The Darkness and Light, Philosophical Reflections on his fortunate career and those who made it possible, 1990. The Philosophy of Charles Hartshorne, The Library of Living Philosophers, Volume 20, 1991. The Zero Fallacy and Other Essays in Neoclassical Philosophy, edited with Valadi, 1997. Creative Experiencing a Philosophy of Freedom, edited by Wayne and Albany, 2011. Well, of course, he died in the year 2000, so this is 2011. It's done by other people, maybe collecting some of his earlier works. My note, by God, is he really a worthy challenger to Kant? Many consider Kant to be the greatest modern philosopher. Like Aristotle and Hegel, so also Hartshorne seems to criticize all his predecessors, and his specialty may be the ontological argument which Kant criticized, but he defends, and it may be the foundation of all metaphysics, like proving things a priori. January 30, 2024, on my blog, publishing. I was a graduate of university in science while I was struggling to write books, or at least write one great one, or discover one original idea. A few people told me I was wasting my time. They said that one day I will eventually die and all this work will go to the trash. Really, they had little education and had clerical jobs and did not even read any of my work, nor did they know anything about the publishing business. But even a more educated person said, we do not need your work, without even reading my notes. He simply said, we have enough books. One educated woman read an article I wrote on philosophy, though she later said that she did not understand it, so she gave me her home phone number. One highly educated male doctor read my article on physics and said he could not help me. He told me to show it to a physicist. I began writing at age 26 years old, right after university, and I wanted to finish and publish a book by as early as age 32. It had mainly some great ideas I uncovered from the philosophy of Moses Maimonides. Our university professor did not seem to understand Maimonides' book or my essay. Many people were naive about books, but so was I. In fact, there are millions of professors with PhDs all over the world who never really discover anything original in 30 or even 50 years of research. They mainly teach, so it is understandable for even experts to be skeptical about your chance of succeeding here. Also, you do not know very much at age 30 years compared to a professor who is 50 or 70 years old, so it is hard to compete with him. Though Einstein made major discoveries at age 26 and age 36 years already, and he believed that discovery is for the young. Some say his career was over at age 41 years old. I think I read that Einstein refused surgery when he was sick at age 76 years. Oh God, exclamation mark. Really, I think that if you take anything with you when you die, then your wisdom is one of the things that you do. You may one day take your family or your kids or your wife also. You may not take your house or cars. January 21, 2000, January 31, 2024. Archon, a recent expert on God. The question of the existence of God is the first principle of religion and metaphysics. Hence, the 60 years of research by the philosopher Charles Hartshorne may be invaluable. For Kant, God, along with free will and human immortality, is even one of the three principles of morality. It is possible to combine my metaphysics with Hartshorne's for now, at least until I can assess his work and summarize more fully. I think the selections by Hartshorne of St. Anselm's two famous ontological proofs I read, the selections by Hartshorne of St. Anselm's two famous ontological proofs today, and his commentary on these selections in his 1953 book. I have to read more articles and books by Charles Hartshorne before I add a paragraph or an article. But Hartshorne may repeat his main ideas. Also, he goes into detail and replies to objections raised against the proof during the last 1,000 years. I think he even improves the proof by revising it. He says that the proof by Anselm may be the most original contribution to the proofs of the existence of God by anyone. Really, Anselm gave two proofs, and the second one is better. Unfortunately, it was neglected by most philosophers. They mostly knew the first proof only and criticized it. Page 19 of 35. Though Descartes had both versions, it didn't help. Hartshorne may even think that Kant's famous critique only applies to the first version of the proof. This is very important since Kant had held all proofs of God really include the ontological proof as part of them. Judges. True theories. Success. You may want to be discovered for your theories, but you may go about it the wrong way. You may prove your theory yet not get noticed. Consider the great physicist Albert Einstein. He created the famous theory of general relativity, but it was not accepted because of his impressive proofs, since maybe only 3 people in the world understood, or maybe no one did. The theory of relativity used tensor calculus of advanced calculus, mathematics, if they are even correct proofs at all. The theory was accepted since Einstein explained surprising events or made predictions which were later observed or confirmed, such as the unusual motion of the planet Mercury, the bending of light, or the Doppler shift. Indeed, even these confirmations could be false, since it could be a misinterpretations of the results. Even the scriptures of several religions are accepted by billions of people worldwide based on faith, and the scriptures of different religions may even disagree with each other. They may also contradict philosophy, science, engineering, law, and medicine. Discovering a person who is a genius can be just as hard as discovering a new theory in philosophy or in science. Also, maybe some people show very brilliant work when they are young, and then they finish. They stop being productive. Other people start slowly, but show great work when they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s. February 1st, 2024, marriage, kids. Oh God, exclamation mark. Even if you were popular as a young man and wanted a family, you may not have had any babies. Do you have any painful regrets? But rarely do kids turn out to be like their parents, and your kids could force you to sacrifice your career. Also, you could have been a father figure for years to kids of relatives, neighbors, or co-workers. But also, if you are a rare intellectual genius, then you could have been a father figure even to adults or experts. You can greatly influence strangers or even have disciples directly or via books or television shows or movies. Page 20 or 36. My critique of the movie Fiddler on the Roof. He says that if he was a rich man, he could study the holy books instead of working hard as a farmer. You feel sorry for him. It seems unjust, but really study is also hard work, and this way he accomplishes work every day. He got married and had several children. He supports a family. Tevye makes a huge assumption. Since he may not have the capability to be a great scholar, few people do. It is very competitive since there are a lot of great researchers out there. Even having a PhD degree is often not enough to guarantee success. Millions of people have PhDs. In reality, some professors later do work only in other areas. Some work in the industry, some only teach, some publish articles, a few write books, a few win a prize, and very few win international prizes. He could be allowed to study for a lifetime instead of being a farmer, and thus waste his life, though it may be noble to try, since he will only learn a few new things, misunderstand some other things, and not discover anything important to add to humanity's knowledge in his whole life. There's a lot we don't know, but very few people make any discovery. February 2nd, 2024. This is from yesterday. In Kant's critique of the ontological form, he says that existence is not a real predicate. But Archon criticizes Kant by arguing that this objection does not apply to St. Anselm's second form of the ontological proof, nor does it apply to Descartes' second form. He also says that Kant did not know the second version of the proof. Also, Archon says that only in the case of God is existing a superior manner of existing. It is not simply existence in general. It is necessary existence which does not have the conceivable alternative of failing to exist, also called existence through self, or according to essence, as Philo calls it. Anselm says God cannot be conceived as not existing, so ordinary existence is inferior to necessary existence. It is an existence through another, so it may never have existed or can always cease to exist. All things exist accidentally except God, whose existence is essential and hence superior. According to Hartshorne, this great argument of St. Anselm is presented in a variety of ways. The point is, if God could be even taught to fail to exist, then even if he existed, would be inferior to that than which none greater than can be conceived, since we can think of something that cannot be thought not to exist, which is better. Hence, that which is superior may be conceived as having non-existence is inconceivable. Hartshorne agrees with Anselm that conceivable Non-existence may be ruled out a priori with respect to supreme greatness. In some cases, existence is a limitation or defect. Existence might not have included you. The superior manner of existing is without conceivable alternative. So contingency is a genuine predicate, compare Kant. He calls the argument a stroke of genius if ever there was one, and many refutations of Ansom's failed to take account of the main part of the argument, so they are not really refutations of it. The saint gives supplementary arguments to support his insight. Joseph Bitton, author, add to my proofs of God. Based on my list of premises given above, I will try to add another proof of the existence of God. Kant argued the way to prove that God exists is first to prove the existence of a necessary being, and secondarily to prove it is the ens realissimum of the ideal. Part 1. Kant gives a proof of the existence of the necessary being in the fourth antinomy. He gets a contradiction and resolves it by rejecting both sides. Since a series of causes in the world, time may not end in the first cause, but be infinite, unlike in logical proofs where it must end in a first cause. But Kant seems unaware that Aristotle and Averroes argued that a potential infinite is possible, but not an actual infinite, and that given a series of causes, the first cause must exist. It seems even Crescas agrees. Crescas was a critic of Aristotle. Maimonides listed 25 propositions of Aristotle and his followers, and he considered them as proven beyond a doubt. Hasadai Crescas collected the proofs of these propositions and criticized them, and H.A. Wolfson and others did a commentary on them. The third proposition on the list is the existence of an infinite number of cause and effect being impossible, even if they are agents or not magnitudes, that is, whether they have order in position or as magnitudes or order in nature as cause and effects. By causes is meant something that implies an effect, and if had no cause, there will be no effect. Crescas says that the argument is as follows. Wolfson says the proof is from Altabrisi, based on the proof by Avicenna, which is based on Aristotle. An effect alone has only a possible existence, and so it requires a determinant to bring about its existence, which is its cause. In an infinite series of causes and effects, either all the members are effects or some of them would not be effects. If they were all effects, then they would have only possible existence. They would require some determinant. Thus, they would require a causeless cause a cause without a cause. And if they were not all effects, then one or more of them would be causeless cause, and it would mark the end of the series. So it was not true that the series is an endless series of cause and effects. Averroes held an infinite number to be impossible, even for things that do not have an order. Not only those having order in position or in nature. Since actual number must necessarily be finite, for actual number is something actually numbered, and that which is actually numbered must be either even or odd, and that which is even or odd must be finite. Crescas criticized Averroes by saying that, yes, number is even or odd, but infinite number is unlimited and not described as even or odd. So infinity is possible for things that are not ordered in position or as causes and effects. Crescas thinks that the argument is not altogether sufficient, since an infinite number is possible in the case where there is no ordering. He thinks that this is the view of Maimonides. So if you have an infinite series, necessary existence of angels, then it is possible. Crescas also thinks that the emanating of an infinite number of effects from a single cause may be possible. That is, if a single cause can be the source of more than one effect. This is page 23. So there can be an infinite number of effects. Crescas wonders why, simply assuming a common cause for the whole series as a whole, the number of causes and effects within the series can't be infinite. It is unjustified that their infinity is impossible simply because the entire series depends upon a first cause, assuming an infinite number of effects. If we posit a first common cause, infinity is impossible only for ordered things. To be sure, it will be necessary to posit something to bring about the preponderance of existence over non-existence, since they all have only contingent existence. But Crescas argues that despite a first common cause, the effects proceeding from it may be infinite. Crescas quotes a commentator which Wolfson identifies as Narboni. He tries to prove Proposition 3 by arguing that which cannot be realized by itself, unless it be preceded by something infinite, will never be realized and cannot come into existence. Crescas criticized this argument, saying if the proposition had a temporal nature, then the argument might be true. Even in this case, surely it is true that we see it does happen, since the present day arrive, yet some believe in the eternity of the universe. One may reply that it was only accidental, but to deny its possibility when essential needs to be proven. Also, it is irrelevant for things to coexist in time. My note, Maimonides claimed that Proposition 26, the eternity of the world, was not proven. Also have two cases. It may be different, since it may be possible if some of the terms of the series disappear, but not possible otherwise, in order to avoid the accumulation of an infinite magnitude. That is proven in Proposition 1, and Maimonides accepted as indubitable, but Crescas rejects it. Crescas questions why the possibility of effects infinite in number is denied when they are arranged among themselves as effects of each other, and what is important is even he seems to agree. But what is important is even Crescas, he himself seems to agree that this proposition does prove that there must exist a first cause. Can't deny that the existence of the necessary being could be proven by a cosmological, ontological way, empirically or a priori. Page 24 of 40. Remember, we have 25 pages of 41. Part 2. There is only one first cause unless there exists according to essence, then it is the cause. If there is only one first cause unless there exists according to essence, then it is the cause of all things, even if the existence of things are made up of atoms and they have free will. All things have one source, not many sources, so it must be God, even if he was the creator. Maimonides lists several proofs for the oneness or necessary existence of the Aristotelians. He seems to accept them. He also gives proofs of the oneness by the Mutakalimun, but he does not seem to think that they are demonstrations. Averroes reviews previous Aristotelian and Islamic philosophy. St. Thomas Aquinas also lists proofs of oneness of the necessary existence. So, for example, I think Maimonides first argues that the necessary existence according to essence is simple, i.e. not composite. Really, St. Anselm earlier argued that if a being is composite, then it cannot be a necessary existence, since its parts can be separated, so it may cease to exist. Aristotle argued that what is possibility in it must come about in finite time. Also, Aristotle rejected infinite number, so only a finite force could hold the parts of the necessary existence together. God cannot be a body or a force in a body. He is incorporeal or immaterial, since both types of substance are composite. But God is simple. Aristotle, Maimonides, and others argue that God is totally unchanging, immutable, since God is simple. Aristotle argued that change implies composition, since we have a transition, and during it you are partly in the previous state and partly in the next state. But Kant argued that change is possible for things outside time, that is, instantaneously. Maimonides argued that God was separate from the world in regards will, prime mover and cause, but not separate in regard to cause of existence, necessary existence or efficient cause. But Kant argued that God may be the cause of motion or will of the world or the cause of its existence. And there can only be one God, since if you had two of them, they would be composite, but God is simple, since they would have something which distinguished them and something that made them both necessary. It's now about 32 minutes. Both of them necessary existent. It may be instructive to compare my proof of God given here. This is page 25 or 41. It may be instructive to compare my proof of God given here to the famous one of St. Anselm given right before it as described by the prestigious philosopher Charles Hartshorne, February 3rd, 2024. That's from yesterday. And the book Anselm's Discovery, 1965. I read part of it yesterday. You can combine my last proof of God above with Anselm's second version of his proof for part 1 and part 2 respectively. I argue against Kant in part 1 since must have a first cause. Even Crescas, the critic of Aristotle, agrees. Hartshorne argues against Kant part 2, not a real predicate, since it does not apply to the second version of Anselm's proof. I think maybe the concept is the same in all universes, but the law of nature are different regarding whether existence is a real predicate. Hartshorne said we have better neoclassical view of God after Kant, a definition of God. We see God as changing rather than being immutable. Really, Hegel may be the first one to claim God was changing. He does not seem to know, Hartshorne does not seem to know that pre-modern philosophers had arguments for God being unchangeable, like Aristotle and Averroes, Maimonides, Aquinas, etc. He says, Hartshorne says, after 40 years of studying Kant's proof, or his critique of the proof, in his 1965 book, is Kant deluding himself, or is the Hartshorne deluding himself? Question mark. Can someone who is wiser and knows Kant better help him? Question mark. Avicenna also gave a proof of the necessary existence, had 3 cases assuming the world is eternal. But if world is created, Maimonides argued that God must exist and all miracles are possible. Kant may have given several proofs of step 1 and step 2 of the proof of God. In 5 days, it will be 1 year and 6 months since Olivia Newton-John died, almost age 74. She almost died, but had treatments at age 44 years old. Well, actually, now it's in 4 days because she died on August 8, 2022. Now it's February 4, 2024, and I think that's a stop here. That's it was shorter than I thought, but anyway, it's pretty complicated. This is a pretty good article. Still, it's long, 41 pages. I still have to read more of Hartshorne's articles and books, but I think I got most of his major points.